What's going on, everybody? Sunday, September 2nd. Myself, EMAC, back together again. It was just a short week ago that we christened this Fan Vice Osimo relationship, and we're back and better than ever. You ready to tackle this lovely slate? Just incredible pitching.
I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I'm actually tweeting a picture out of me just finishing a half marathon approximately 35 minutes ago. So there we are. That's where my morning was spent. What did you guys do? That's all I have to say. I'm out of the shower, but I'm still. It's very humid here in Virginia Beach. My wife's up at the medical tent with one of our friends who had to get pulled off the course for heat stroke or heat exhaustion. It's a little crazy, Josh. You're down in southern North Carolina, if we can
Correct.
say it. It's a little humid as there as well, is it not?
Yeah, so let's see. What do we got right now? I think it's probably like 95 on the heat index right now. 98. 98. And we'll be over 100 in an hour or two. So just a lovely, lovely day of weather. I'm going to sit in my pool like I did yesterday.
Oh, wait, you have a pool?
I do have a pool.
Oh, this is very, very, this is good to know because I can't wait when I come down to visit. I will be able to hang out in the pool.
Yes, you can. Pool season down here is like early April to the end of September, so big range. All of baseball season, basically.
Oh, that would be glorious. That would be glorious. All right, it's out there on the Twitter sphere. You guys can laugh. That's me. It was fun. This was my 7th year, I believe, in a row of doing this one, so it was a good time. You got to learn to pace yourself. This one's always Labor Day weekend. We come down here, we hang out. I lay off the beers until Sunday, but today I'm so dehydrated, I do not think I will have any beers. I had a nice chocolate milk at the end of the race. I gave away my beer tickets, said I'm not going to the beer tent. I'm coming back inside. It's way too hot here. So I have my tasty beverage, my refreshing water. We've got 8 games on tap. Let's rock and roll, if you will.
Let's do it.
First game, Detroit Tigers, New York Yankees. We have Matt Boyd on the bump for the Motor City Kitties. We have Lance Lynn on the other side. And we know we love to take Lance Lynn against righty-heavy teams. We have switch hitters, Heimer Candelario batting first, Nico Goodrum batting fourth, and then Victor Reyes. Well, I'm not going to count him, but that means he's going to hit a home run because I said the same thing about Adrian Beltre yesterday, and he hit a home run. But we only have 3 guys here that are lefties. We've got an incredibly slumping James McCann. Dawal Lugal is no great shakes there. So Nick Castellanos, Candelario, and Goodrum are it. That's all I'm scared about. What do the vaunted Osimo projections have Lance Lynn today across the field, and what does the Josh model have?
43% expected ownership on Lance Lynn on DK, 26% on FanDuel. I've got more than that on both, significantly more on FanDuel. I've got Lance Lynn in half of my lineups on DraftKings and 42% on FanDuel. It's just too good of a spot. Lowest implied total of the slate for the Tigers. You know, there's a lot of swing and miss in that lineup, and there's just a lack of talent more than anything. 78 weighted runs created plus against right-handed pitching this season. They're just bad. Lance Lynn's at a price point that makes it really easy to go either direction. I wrote him up in Spotlight Pitchers today, but if you wanted to play him with Nola, there are stacks that can get you there from a hitting perspective. If you want to go down to someone cheaper, then you can basically pay for whatever bats you want. So Lynn looks great. He's chalk I'll happily eat today.
Yeah, and the thing with Lynn, the only thing that gets to him, as we mentioned, are the lefties. Over the last 2 seasons, facing 600 plus lefties, he has a 360 WOBA, 190 ISO. But if we go look over at the Detroit hitters, the only guys with isolated power is actually only guy above 200 against righties is Nico Goodrum at 223. Then we check in with Castellanos at 190, and then everybody else is like 150 or not an exciting lineup. So I think we're in a reasonably good spot here. On the other side, we do have Matt Boyd, who is going against the Yankees. Now, the Yankees had some reinforcements. They've got Andrew McCutchen, who is phenomenal against lefties, seeing a major change in ballparks, going from, gosh, I almost said Candlestick Park. How tired am I? Let's go to AT&T. Oh, no, wait, it's Pac Bell. No, Pac Bell.
AT&T. It is AT&T.
There we go. But he's coming from San Francisco, leading off, slotting nicely into this Yankees lineup. They got Sanchez back from his hamstring issue. He is batting fifth again today. So now all of a sudden, Neil Walker and Luke Voigt are down at the bottom of the order, where those guys have taken turns at various points in the last month hitting cleanup. So I don't think we want Boyd. We only have 16 starting pitchers, and it looks like a couple games might go bullpen on us today. What are you doing with Matt Boyd?
I'm ignoring him as if he's not on this slate, at least from a pitching perspective. I'll happily target him. I like the Yankees a little bit. I'm under the field on the Yankees, but I mean, some of these righties on New York are clearly in good spots.
I think we're looking at, speaking of righties, the entire lineup outside of Brett Gardner, but I'll run it all the way down 1 through 7. I'll go through Voigt. Probably forego Walker and Gardner, but I don't think we'll be alone on this one. So that will be interesting. When you're doing your stacks in your vaunted 150 portfolio, what is the approximate Yankees?
We're projecting 11% aggregate on DK. I only have 8.
Okay.
And that's on DK, and it's 8% projected on FanDuel, and I only have 6. So I'm coming in just slightly under. Not having Stanton in the lineup is a big part of me being under. He's a guy that I end up with quite a bit on a day-to-day basis, almost ignoring matchup. So without him, I can do without being over the field on the Yanks. I have some respect for Matt Boyd. Not that I think that he's spectacular or anything, but he's not a complete gas can. So if Stanton's not going to be in there, which is he dinged up? It seems like a weird spot to take him out in a righty-lefty matchup.
No, and I think he is, or it's an odd Sunday lineup, because I just refreshed my page. I was looking at projected lineups, even though they all had turned green, saying that they were confirmed. So, hey, wait a second. I'm only going to go 1 through 6 on those Yankees. We're going to set Romine, Hechavarria, and Gardner aside. But, yeah, that is a little less daunting of a lineup. But, man, McCutchen, Hicks, Andujar, Sanchez, those guys are all tough. Torres is a gamer. And he's got surprising pop, granted small sample size there. I'm guessing it's just day off, no biggie, and they think they're going to rock this one. And they've got bigger fish to fry. And if I'm remembering correctly, it's been a few days since Stanton had any days off.
Yeah.
So I think now that they've got, the extra hitter with Sanchez, that's another guy who can DH. McCutchen will play the field. So this is just give the main guy a day off, I guess.
I get one thing I do want to point out. This could just be me. Aaron Hicks, 4,400 on FanDuel. That's not really a price that I like all that much. He's worse against lefties than he is against righties. So I'd try to avoid Aaron Hicks on FanDuel. That's my only specific thing that I want to point out. Other than that, it's a righty-heavy lineup against the Tigers and a 5.2 run implied total.
All right, for those of you panicking in season long, this is from our friends at Roto World. It is a rare day off for Stanton, who's getting a breather for the first time since May 28th. Wow, that's a long time. So he went basically from Memorial Day to Labor Day without a day off. So, but Sanchez is the designated hitter, and Austin Romine is catching. So mystery solved there. Mystery solved. Moving along to our next game here, we've got Stanton's former team, the Miami Marlins, hosting the Toronto Blue Jays. Sean Reed-Foley is going against Jeff Brigham. You will not find Brigham in any of your player pools. He is coming up from the minors. 26-year-old righty, went to the same college as Tim Lincecum. Can you name that college? Washington, you are correct. My alma mater. There we go.
I see why you led me there. Been a while since I thought about Lincecum in college,
yes,
at least.
Pour one out for the they played Auburn tough yesterday, but couldn't quite get there on a, quote, neutral field in the Georgia Dome, which wasn't quite that neutral. But in any event, they looked pretty good. On to this game here. We don't have to worry about Brigham. He is a 26-year-old guy making his first appearance here. So that kind of says it all. Not a lot to worry about from him. He's projects as best case scenario, a back of the end rotation or a swing guy. They don't even know that they would count him as a middle reliever. So he's projecting as an innings eater. They put was it Pablo Lopez they put on the 60-day DL
Yeah.
ending his season? He was slotted to start, but they're just shutting him down for the rest of the year. So I like some guys here from Toronto. I think we can consider Billy McKinney. I think we can get Randall Grichuk in our lives. I don't mind a somewhat discounted Lourdes Gurriel, but it feels a little light here because I really wanted smoke, and they've got Kendrys Morales in. And I went and looked this up. Morales has played, I want to say, about 70 games in the field
Mm.
over the last 5 seasons. All at first base. He did have a brief appearance at third base this year for Toronto. But as we saw, they had a Russell Martin played at shortstop with some various shifts that they were doing, etc. So I think it was one of those games. But I was surprised to see him in the lineup today. So downgrades me a little bit because I did have smoke in my shell lineups, of course, before I went off to run the half marathon. So I've got some changes to do here. What are you doing with this particular contest? Because we only have 8 of them, and this feels like a whole lot of
I don't like. There are individual bats that I don't have a problem with on the Toronto side. I'm not really getting too much of anything for hitting here, but I think McKinney in a vacuum grades out pretty well. I think Travis grades out relatively well. Grichuk looks fine, but I'm not really stacking this game up at all. The only thing that I'm doing here is playing an overabundance of Sean Reed-Foley.
All right. And by overabundance, do you mean he's in more than one of your lineups?
Yeah, he's in 50% of them as of right now on DraftKings. And I have a little bit on FanDuel, which is kind of outlandish, but I feel like I don't have a choice. Marlins 83 weighted runs created plus against righties this year, a 123 ISO. That's the type of, like, that little amount of power is the type of non-power. I lost it. Anyway, look, there's strikeout potential there because they have no power. It's Sunday. I had too many beers yesterday. Nothing's flowing out of my mouth like it should.
I went to bed at 9:02 last night. 9:02. It was my eyes closed and I was sleeping before the 9 o'clock game started for Major League Baseball.
I hope you fell asleep with 10 seconds into that too. The classic Beverly Hills 9:0210. Those are the kind of jokes you're going to get from me on a Sunday.
I approve, and that is well played. Greatest quote ever from that show. That would be Dylan McKay. That would be drinking Dylan McKay.
Drinking Dylan McKay, the best part of that show.
Absolutely. Let the bridges I burn light my way.
He's a man.
That's words to live by and mic drop before we knew about mic drops. Anything else from this game? I feel like the Sean Reed-Foley is we're not going to be alone.
No, he's relatively chalky. 29% expected on DK, so I'm doubling that up. I don't see what the alternative is. I even tried to nerf him a little bit in my projections, and he still just can't stop coming up. So I'm going to be very invested in Sean Reed-Foley.
All right, let's move along here. We have the Milwaukee Brewers. We have the Washington Nationals. It is a warm one up there in DC. Some heavy humidity. Temperatures approaching 90 degrees. Humidity is approaching 60. They've got the heat index that is going to be nearly 100, and it is not fun in that weather. Let's talk about Junior Guerra. I actually have some notes here that I wrote up. So let's see. I said Junior Guerra has been relatively splits neutral over the last 2 seasons with 435 at-bats against lefties, allowing a 354 WOBA, a 200 ISO, which is not great. Against righties, a 342 WOBA and a 195 ISO. And we got to remember, he debuted as what was it? 20? He was 29 or 30 years old. So this is career start number 60 over 3 years where he's been a starter. He did a little time in the bullpen here and there. That is just, it's something I want to pick on. One other thing that we want to think about is stolen bases. So who is our catcher here?
Manny Pena for Milwaukee.
Excellent, because we like to talk about Manny Pena because he allows a ton of stolen bases. Since the beginning of last year, Pena has allowed 64 stolen bases in 103 attempts. That's a 62% success rate. Now, the one thing we do want to note is Guerra has allowed 9 in his last 39 starts. So he doesn't allow a ton, but we do know that the Nationals are going to run. They're going to have to try to manufacture some stuff, and they do have Eaton and Trey Turner, who are at the top of the lineup. Trey Turner, in particular, is the stolen base leader at the moment, or at least last I checked. The other guy I really like coming into this game from the Nationals is going to Mark Reynolds. So I think we're looking at the top 6 for the Nationals in play as a stacking opportunity. Now, on DraftKings, they are not discounted, but if you're going to put a little Sean Reed-Foley in your life, you can definitely get to them. What are you looking at from the Guerra Nationals combination here?
So I'm not looking to Guerra at all. I am looking a little bit at Jeffrey Rodriguez. Just another option for me at a low salary point. I'm trying to prioritize more bats than anything. And I am prioritizing bats here. I am absolutely mashing the Brewers and the Nats.
Okay. I've got some notes on Jeffrey Garrett, because if you look at his overall numbers, you're not going to click on him. But I do want to say he has allowed just 3 earned runs and 5 total runs in his last 3 starts. He's gone 16 innings. Now, there's only been 9 strikeouts, but he's had a nice even mix between ground ball and fly ball outs. He does have 7 walks in the last 2 games, which isn't the great. And in 5 of his 7 starts, he's allowed at least 3 walks. So that's kind of the worst thing he can do is allow walks, because he does not get a lot of strikeouts to clean things up. But most of the damage has been done by lefties. So Yelich, Sean, Moustakas are the guys I'm looking towards, and then maybe a little Aguiar to connect the dots. What was their starting lineup? It is not Aguiar. Oh, but nicely.
It's just a sea of lefties.
And they've got Granderson. Oh, he's making his debut for them. So we've got 5 lefties at the top of the – line them up. Cinco. There we go. A quintet. We're all good.
Yeah. It's a very, very nice day to grab bats in this game. Wind is blowing out. Weather very hitter friendly. Here are my aggregates right now. It's just shocking how much I'm in this game. 5% projected aggregate ownership for the Brewers today on DraftKings. I've got 14. I'm also double the field on FanDuel. I've got 3 times the field of the Nats on DraftKings and more than double on FanDuel. This is where I'm concentrating everything. I have parts of all of this. I love it. I love it so much. And that means it's going to be 2-1 Nats win with, I don't know, a couple errors to score those runs, and I'll just cry into my pillow tonight.
That's kind of what it feels like. But that's okay, because tomorrow we have a full day of baseball once again, so we can get right back on the horse. Or if things go sideways, there's a very robust 4-game afternoon slate, Josh. So the TELC opportunities are high. Do you know what TELC stands for? It was coined by one Lofty D. Dave Loughran.
I am not familiar, but I'd love to know.
Tilt entering late contests.
Oh, I've been doing that for a pretty long time now.
Now you know what it's called. It's all caps TELC.
Prior to DFS, that would have been like betting on the Hawaii college football games and stuff. Yeah.
So you're saying there's a chance. We're staying up till 2 in the morning. This winning ticket. We can do it. Oh, good times. Good times ahead. Anything else other than we're fingers crossed hoping for an offensive extravaganza here in a game with approaching 10 projected runs scored?
Yeah, I can't imagine not having a ton of this game. If the Nats are like 3% owned, I'm gonna have so much Trey Turner and Harper. It's gonna be disgusting. If one of those guys go yard, or if both of those guys go yard, oh boy, find me at the top.
Good times ahead there. Moving along here, again, we only have 8 games on this early slate. 7 if you're playing over there on FanDuel. They still haven't worked out the technology to get those 3 o'clock games onto their slates. But we've got the Cubbies, the Phillies, technically 2 of the, air quotes, best pitchers here. John Lester in name only, and that's window dressing. His amazing stats this season, the underlying numbers do not support them. So the 9.5-point price tag, I want no part of it. On the other side, we have Aaron Nola. On DraftKings, he's 12.8. You're paying apex prices for a guy who's just fringy, almost in the top 5 pitchers, I would say, right now in the game, but just on that edge. So he's definitely a top 10 guy. But the Cubbies are no slouches. And, of course, Philadelphia, the bandbox known as Citizens Bank Ballpark, does encourage some home runs And it looks like we've got a fully healthy Cubs lineup here because we've got Bryant is back
Yeah.
after missing time. They've got the addition of Daniel Murphy, who appears to be healthy now. Javier Baez, we didn't want to play yesterday because we didn't want him because it was a righty-righty matchup coming off a 3-hit game. These guys are loaded. Wait for it. They're loaded for bear. That was for you, Seth. The Cubs loaded for bear. Do you see what I did there? What are you doing here? Is Aaron Nola in your plans this afternoon?
Yeah, he is, but it's different on both sites. So I'm over the field on DraftKings. A lot of that has to do with the fact that I'm playing so much Sean Reed Foley. I can get to Nola and keep my average pitcher salary below the public. So I'm slightly above the field on Nola. He's relatively chalky. But on FanDuel, it's a little different for me. I'm under the field close to half. And so much of it is because of price point. Nola is 11,000 on FanDuel, and the next closest pitcher is Lance Lynn at 8,000. You rarely see a gap like that. 3K down to the second most expensive guy. Everybody is just dramatically underpriced on FanDuel, so I'm not seeing much reason to go crazy to Nola, especially if he's 27% owned. I only have him with a 21% chance of being the top scoring pitcher on FanDuel. So that means I'm trying to get a lot of value on some other guys.
All right. That sounds good. For those in chat that are asking, Andrew is on projections. Not sure where he is. He was covering for me because I was doing the half marathon. But if they haven't been done by the time we're done with the show, I will do them. Because I'm on hotel Wi-Fi, I can't really risk it. But we're halfway done with the slate. So I would envision that you will have the projections up there no later than 12:30. So we will make do on that. And as we get towards the end of the show, I'll probably cheat a little bit. But I do have them all set up on my computer because I sent them over to him last night. So we're good there. No need to panic. We got this. Let's move along here as we're on the second half of our slate. The 2 o'clock games here. Boston Red Sox versus the Chicago White Sox. The Battle of the Sox. We have Brian Johnson, we have James Shields. Now, I really don't want any part of either of these pitchers because of their respective matchups for Shields. And then Brian Johnson, the price, not really thrilled about that. But we've already eliminated a ton of our pitching options, so I think we're going to circle back and allow Brian Johnson to be part of our life. I'm curious to see what your percentages are on that. But I do have some notes here with Brian Johnson. So let's see. I've said he has faced just shy of 500 batters over the last 2 seasons. And as expected from the Southpaw, he has held his own against same-handed hitters, allowing just a 270 WOBA and a 120 ISO against lefties. Different story against opposite-handed hitters, which of course would be right-handed bats. 350 WOBA, 200 ISO, 42% fly ball rate, 34% hard hit rate. Those aren't horrible. They're not really great. But I think if we're going to be targeting anybody against him, we want to go with these righties near the top. And they're doing us a favor by putting 3 of them there with Ryan Lamar, Tim Anderson, Matt Davidson, and then actually Jose Rondon is not too shabby himself. And heck, if you really want to make it stretch it into a 5-man, you could go with Kevin Smith in all of this. What are you doing with Brian Johnson? Where's he in your mix of pitchers today?
Yeah, so we're projecting 20% ownership for him on DK, and that's where I'll be as well. It's really hard for me to ignore a matchup against the White Sox. 27% K rate this year against lefties. They can't stop striking out. Ryan Lamar, Davidson, Palka, Moncada, all of these guys project to strike out more than 30% of the time. Adam Engel, 29%. I don't want to leave him out, but he didn't cross the 30% threshold. So I'm always targeting pitching against the White Sox. They just strike out too much. FanDuel is the most interesting part. You mentioned not liking Brian Johnson's price today on DK. Fire up Brian Johnson on FanDuel. 5,800 today in a matchup against the White Sox. I'll be close to double the field on that side. And again, it's interesting because everyone is so cheap. I'm happily going to grab matchup in this one. So normally I wouldn't be all the way down at somebody that's 5,800 on FanDuel just because of the way FanDuel structures their stuff. But today, I mean, why not? You're not going to find a much better strikeout matchup, and you can then fit in every single bat you want on FanDuel.
All right, so let's talk about the other hurler in this game, James Shields. So here are my notes from Shields because he's very hit or miss. So 28 starts this season. 9 of them he's allowed 4 or more earned runs. 3 of those 9 were just 4. The remainder were 5, 6, or I think 7 was the most that he allowed. He has allowed 27 home runs this season through those 28 starts. That's the 4th most in the league this season. I think we can go against him with hitters swinging the stick from either side of the plate, but most likely we're going to want to look at the top end of the order for Boston. And then let me see here. Who is catching? Did Navarez make it in for him? Oh, Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith is not that good at holding runners either. So that's bodes well for Betts, to a lesser extent Bogarts, but it all depends on how much they're going to need to run. So this may not be a spot where they have to run, but we're down the stretch where every game counts and teams are starting to think about clinching early. So if they can get an easy road win here, I think they're going to go for it. And I do like the Boston guys. I think you can also start with Jackie Bradley and circle around for a wraparound stack here. Of course, you're going to burn some of your outfield spots doing that if you extend it all the way through JD Martinez. What are you looking at for the Bo Sox?
All of it. Number 1 stack for me on FanDuel.
Everybody.
It is a play everybody. I mean, to an extent. There's not anybody that I'd be mad that I got. I don't really like Brock Holt or Swihart or Jackie Bradley all that much, but highest implied total outside of that crazy Twins-Rangers game. Red Sox are my number 1 stack on FanDuel, number 3 on DraftKings. It's the top 6 for me that's going to get the concentration of my ownership. Big time for Betts, tons of JD. Eduardo Nunez, only 2,500 for a third base option on FanDuel. He's a guy I'll have a ton of. I mean, you just can't really go wrong. I love these guys. 1 through 6, any order, whatever you want to do, I'm on board for it.
All right. Don't forget those home runs from the 9-hole. Jackie Bradley hits them. They do count.
Yeah.
Just the same as those hit by JD Martinez and Mitch Moreland. Cruising over to our next game here, we have the Cincinnati Reds taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. It's Anthony Desclafani going against Luke Weaver. Now, we talked a little bit pre-show about Weaver. He has been bouncing back and forth between the bullpen and starting. As you've continued to see some lineups come out, what are you going to do with him this afternoon, particularly on the 2-pitcher sites? Because I don't think he'll go nearly long enough on FanDuel to qualify for the win, let alone be in play for a quality start, because, of course, you need 6 innings for a quality start.
Yeah. FanDuel, I'll probably have him in a couple lines. I'll have 180 going on FanDuel. So if I get him in like 4 or 5, I'm not going to go crazy. DK, so anybody that's been watching me do these shows for the past 4 or 5 months knows that I probably have a ton of Luke Weaver on a day-to-day basis. It's just a guy that grades out really well for me. We're projecting 20% ownership. I've nerfed his innings. I've put him down to 4.5, and he's still somebody that's popping up. And I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that. I think that he can pitch well here, but it's not as if the Reds are some incredible strikeout matchup. Like, he's going to need a very perfect scenario to be a high-end value. I just don't see it anymore. I think that when I do my final crunch, I'll probably cap him at like 5%, take a small trickle of him, but I don't think he's necessary today. It's just, he's been in the bullpen for too long for him to be able to make a major impact as a starter. So, with that said, today will be the first day that I'm off of Luke Weaver, and he'll probably have 6 no-hit innings.
Well, the one thing that concerns me with him is, obviously no great shakes here. He's a young right-hander, so lefties get to him. It's not so much the power, it's that he is only striking out 18% of them this year across 300 hitters. And, of course, some of that's coming from the bullpen where theoretically he should be fresh and stuff since it's a shorter appearance. And then he's walking 9.3%. So he's facing Hamilton, Votto, Jeanette, Schebler, Williams. Those are all lefties. That's a bit of an issue. So I don't really want to take him in this one. I got to take a quick call here, so I'm throwing this one to you.
That's fine. I'll keep going. Orioles lineup just dropped, so we'll check that out now. looks fine, and with Lopez on the other end, I'll happily have some Orioles, but we'll get there on the next game, probably. Yeah, next game. I don't see this game particularly viable from a hitting perspective. I'm very much under the field on the Cardinals. I have basically no Reds. I really just want this game to stay quiet. Only person getting any ownership with any sort of volume would be Matt Carpenter. That's an obvious play. DeSclafani hittable, especially against lefties. So I don't mind using Carpenter, but I don't really need any part of this. I'm hoping that this game just stays like 3-2 and I can avoid most of it.
And that does make a lot of sense because DeSclafani just absolutely does a great job of shutting down righties, but these righties are good against righties. I don't know how sorry. And for those wondering, it was my wife had to pick somebody up at the medical tent. One of our friends post race here got pulled off the course for heat exhaustion, and they're ready to go, but I'm not ready to go pick them up. So.
Well, if you need to drop off, that's perfectly fine.
No, they said they're going to get an Uber. They'll take care of it. So.
God bless Uber.
Yes.
Minus the whole like really dark underbelly.
Well, there is that. Plus, we're in a hotel that's on the main street, so I don't live down here, so I don't know which roads are still closed. So even though they're only 7 blocks away, it could take me 20 minutes to find a way to get to them. So I think they're better off going with the local. I think they're better off with that. So sorry to kind of wrap this up. Are you interested at all in DeSclafani on the road? In a little bit of heat here at 90 degrees, 55% humidity, the winds, crosswinds, so that's really not going to be a big impact here. But $9K on DraftKings.
Yeah, that price tag, I didn't even realize it until right now. I looked at it and was like, whew, DeSclafani at $9K. I just assumed his price was like $5,500 or something. I actually do have a little bit of him. He's not somebody I'm prioritizing. I don't expect to get much. I have him in 7% of my lines on DraftKings. I figure it'll stay in that sort of area, and that's mostly just guys getting rotated in and out for me. I'm not passionate about it. Let's just say that.
All right. Let's see here. We've got. Did we determine is this the real Big T that's in chat?
I still haven't been able to determine it, but I'm almost positive that it's not.
All right. Well, Tony, you slide into the DMs. Let me know if that's really you. Otherwise, I'm not going to buy it.
Yeah, we haven't been buying it really. Tom didn't buy it either.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. One never knows. When we had FanVice pre-Osmo days, and Osmo was in our chat, in the Slack chat, which, by the way, is now part of Osmo, and you can get that as the premium membership. We didn't think it was the real Osmo.
That's reasonable.
Yes, we also didn't think it was the real Saul Goodman for a while. So, hey, a lot of people are they're like, yeah, I just like hanging out where you guys don't have a lot of trolls. This is a very nice place to hang out. Hey, we've brought that over here to Osmo. So no trolls, boot them on out, give them their refund. The Slack is worth the membership in and of itself. Like-minded players, like-minded DFS gamers at all hours of the day. Hanging out. I'm usually part of the early shift, as is Josh. And then there's the crew that takes over around midnight. That would be Hot Magic is in there. That would be Ben as they're up sweating their sports bets and golf. And Adam, when he gets back from the bars, is dropping some early MLB knowledge in the wee hours.
Yeah, there's no late night for me. Not with the amount of stuff that I have to do each morning. I can't do the late games until 1 o'clock and then wake up at 6:30 in the morning.
Yes, that is one of the tough things about it, but that's okay. You're in good hands. We've got the early through the late, and then I'm sure there's probably some super duper night owls that I will never encounter one way or the other on that. But let's continue on here. We've got 2 more games. We've got a lot of offense coming in the Texas game, and we've got a lot of I'm not entirely sure what to do with coming from the Kansas City game. So both of these games have implied run totals. Well, Kansas City, Baltimore is at 10. The Rangers, the Twins, are at 12. So clearly we know the offense is coming from there. But I wanted to talk a little bit about David Hess because I wanted to see where you were. So In his last 4 starts, he's lasted 24 and 2/3 innings. He's allowed just 6 earned runs. He's allowed 25 base runners, so that's a whip of 1. And he's only allowed 3 home runs. So in my estimation, he's a decent player. The only thing that's really going to be your key to your success, if he even has a decent outing, is the fact that the Baltimore Orioles bullpen is so bad. That's the bonus of going against the Orioles. Are you playing David Hess, though?
I probably should have him more than I do, which is essentially not at all. He's not someone that grades out well for me. I don't generally put a lot of weight on any recency. He has been, quote unquote, better in his last 4 starts. He's so underwhelming. 567 xFIP for the season. He misses no bats whatsoever. And he's been incredibly hit lucky. A 258 BABIP. He's been at 235. I don't like looking at it in a 1-game sample, but hit lucky against Toronto, hit lucky against Toronto, hit lucky against the Indians, hit lucky against the Rays. Only game in that whole stretch where he was like good from a strikeout perspective would be that first Toronto game. I can't do it. I think that's just going to catch up with him. I'm hoping that it catches up with him at least, because I have quite a bit of Royals. This game is my other big time stack the heck out of everybody game. Orioles number 4 stack on FanDuel, 5 on DK. Royals are the inverse there. More than double the field on DraftKings for the Royals, close to double on FanDuel. I just want the bats. I don't trust Hess or Lopez.
Yeah, and and that's a very valid point. The thing to remember with Hess is we're looking at about a 320 batter sample size. Those are all from this year. He's got a 5.8 xFIP. He's striking out just 15% of the batters he's facing, and just shy of a 9% walk rate combined. He has a 47% fly ball rate. Now, he doesn't allow a lot of hard contact. Doesn't get a ton of soft contact either. The balls are always going to play. So as Josh mentioned here, I forgot I have to call you Jake at least once. So
That's fine. That's fair. I look like a Jake.
Yeah, just in honor of that. But it's one of those spots here where so many things are in play. I mean, if they're hitting them where they ain't, this could be a crooked number real quick.
Yeah.
And there are no cavalry coming over the mountains to save the day, because the Orioles bullpen is awful. And I think 3 guys threw about 50 or 55 pitches last night, and the night before they had about the same with different guys. So everybody's relatively been used. They're not overly taxed, but they've all been used a lot lately. So thoughts are Jorge Lopez. My notes on him basically are he has a high walks, low strikeouts. But who the hell are we going to look to for the batters of Birdland on our team? Because is anybody really left that we can trust? I mean, I guess Cedric Mullins batting leadoff is nice. VR tends to do a little bit better against righties. That's okay. VR in his last 6 weeks has been way better than VR combined over the last 2 seasons. So whatever was an issue before seems to be fixed or regressing to what he more is a more normal line of production for him. And then Mancini and Jones are okay, but none of these guys scare me. And we're going to need them to string hits together, because I mean, any one of them is capable of a home run. But you may get 1 home run if you play all 5 of them. They all get 5 at bats today. You may only get 1 home run. You may only get 2 or 3 extra base hits tops. So that just kills your stack right there. But what do you think about the Orioles?
Love them. I like them a lot more on FanDuel than I do on DK. They're crazy cheap. I have double the field on FanDuel. I am over the field on DraftKings. Mostly the top. Chris Davis is a guy that I'm getting a ton of. I'm very rarely comfortable with that because, well, he's Chris Davis. But at 2,300, I think I'm willing to take my chances. If we can get a couple guys on one swing of the bat from Chris Davis, it doesn't matter what ballpark he's in. He has major power, although oddly enough, not so much this year. It's kind of scary. But I'm going to have a lot of Chris Davis. I'm going to have a lot of the Orioles. I'm going to have a lot of this game from a hitting standpoint.
All right. Well, so you'll still be alive. You will have reinforcements with player innings remaining, coming into the latter part of today's games.
Yeah, the afternoon. I don't know what's another word. What else can we use instead of hammer? Late night hammer seems to be a thing. So what's the afternoon version of that?
Pile driver.
That'll work. The afternoon pile driver coming in with the Orioles and Royals.
It feels kind of like Sunday afternoon wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, when you're a kid. Junkyard Dog, by the way, is my favorite. JYD.
There you go.
Let's see, last game of the night. It's the Twins. We're still waiting for their lineup. It's the Texas Rangers. Gabriel Moya going against, I guess it's going to be Yohander Mendez picking up the start. It looks like you can get those guys in the DK player pool. I want no part of either one of them because we have two teams here. Minnesota is cresting over 6 implied runs at 6.2, and the Rangers are not that far behind at 5.8. Waving off the pitching in this game, where did these guys rank? Where did these respective teams rank for the Osmo projected stacks?
So before we rate or wave off the pitching, I think we need to talk about it.
I didn't get that far in my research, so I don't have anything. I had to go do a half marathon.
So I agree with you that we should be crossing it off. However, the public doesn't. Moya, 16% expected ownership on DraftKings. Minimum salary for a pitcher. I don't agree with it at all because he's a straight reliever. He's pitching like an inning at a time. So your upside is at best 3 innings if he's cruising. I don't get the appeal here. I don't know how he could possibly be 16% owned. I'm not interested whatsoever, but I just wanted to point out the fact that people are going that direction.
So he's 26 appearances in the minors this season. He's only started 4 games. Hell, he's got 4 saves.
Yeah.
He's not you're not going to get it from Moya.
He's been on the main squad for all of August, facing 4 batters, 3 batters, 5 batters, 6 batters, 2 batters, never facing more than 9. What? Unless you think he's going to strike out the side in the first 3 on a very minimal amount of pitches, I'm good here. I don't. It's not like this game's in Petco. Like, the Rangers have a 5.9 run implied total. Even if you think this is a good spot from a salary perspective, this is a reliever who's pitching in arguably the most hitter-friendly ballpark in baseball. It's a hard pass.
Yeah, this season, they actually surpassed Coors Field because of all the weather that Texas had had this summer, and because Coors was through the spring wasn't doing what it normally does. So interesting. If we look at Yohander Mendez, I'm seeing that he was definitely a starter for let's see, who did he play for? Round Rock Express, so AAA Round Rock. But his last start, for whatever reason, he only went 40 pitches. But prior to that, he had gone less than 90 in that's about 12 starts. And on the season, he's averaging, it looks like, about 94 pitches per start this season. So he would be a guy that you might get a little more mileage out of, but I don't know if that's a good thing or not against the Twins, who have the highest implied run total of the day.
I just can't imagine wanting a pitcher in this spot. Unless you're really... Like, I'm fine with trying to find value by fading, or like going to a pitcher against, both of these teams are going to have really heavy ownership because of their incredibly high implied total. I understand when you want to go to a pitcher in that sense, but these guys, what's the hope here? I just don't get it.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it either. So tread lightly on that one. I think most people will come to their senses and probably not end up there. But again, we only have 16 choices. So on the 2 pitcher sites, they're probably going to range in the 7 to 10% range, just because, unless people tamp them down a little bit. But even then, 5 wouldn't shock me. So I don't know. I mean, with Moya, it's like you're guaranteeing yourself a shot with the reliever who's cheap and is going to play.
Yeah.
I don't want to pick this spot. If it was against a different team or something else. I mean, think about it this way. How often do we play Ryan Stanek? Very rare.
Yeah, I don't.
Very rarely. Sergio Romo, who was, their closer, who was the opener there for a while.
Yeah.
Very rarely.
Yeah.
Just very rarely. So we've got precedent. It just seems a little silly to eschew all that right off the bat. Speaking of bats, what do you got here for the Rangers? We've got Chu, Odor, Elvis Andrus, never exciting. Mazzara, Beltre. Hey, I knocked him last night and he knocked one out of the park. I'm gonna knock him again today. Thanks, but no thanks. Profar, I prefer. Chirinos, of course, swings from his heels, 200 average, chance for a home run. He's the counterpart of Mike Zunino. Ronald Guzman, 3,400. I don't hate that. I mean, would you rather play Ronald Guzman or Chris Davis?
Apparently, for me personally, a lot of Chris Davis.
Those 3 spots in the batting order they're doing, and he's on the away team. That's what's doing it for you.
So the sneaky part of all of this is going to be my ownership to the Rangers. We're projecting 15% aggregate, obviously chalk, but I've only got 5. I'm at a third of the field on the Rangers. Yeah, that's my stand.
That likes to root for the under?
No, not at all. I mean, today I will, but not in general.
Interesting.
Yeah, okay. Only guys that I'm really getting to is basically Andrews. 3,600 is a nice price if you need to get a single shortstop out of a game that has good standing. But Twins bullpen's not that bad, so I'm fine with, rolling out a bunch of relievers against this Rangers team.
And I think that to complete our other thought is that's an excellent point. I mean, playing out that Moya may go 2 innings. Then we're going to have a bunch of other guys in their bullpen. Let's look here at bullpen usage and see where the Twinkies are. I'm
hopping to that as well.
Yep. So last night they had 4 guys go. They had Brsenetz went 20, Drake went 18, Addison Reed went 10, Vasquez went 16. The day before they used a bunch. Hildenberger went 19, McGill went 25, Trevor May, who I would think is kind of like their long reliever, went 31, Moya went 14, Taylor Rogers went 10. So nobody's gone back to back.
Yeah, they can run everybody out there today if they want to.
Yeah, they really could. And then they've got, because they expanded rosters, so these guys probably are active. Tyler Duffy and Matt Belisle, neither one, they haven't pitched in a few days. So I only have it going back 3 days, and this particular site doesn't say if they're active if they're on here, but the roster's just expanded. So who knows what they're doing with them. But point being, they could get a variety of fresher arms, and they've got enough guys in here that each person could take an inning, and they could get through the Rangers lineup.
No one in the Twins bullpen has thrown more than 40 pitches over the last 3 days. So I'm happy fading the Rangers here. I could look stupid. It's a 5.9 run implied total for a reason, but I'm going to transition my ownership to other places like the Royals, the Brewers, the Nats. I'm comfortable there. You got to take a stand somewhere, I guess.
All right. Anything else you want to cover since the Barbarians are at the gate and I need to get some projections here?
I think that's it. I'll be in the Slack chat for all the Premium Awesemo members all the way up until lock, and then I'll probably have some info for the 4 o'clock games and everything too. So I'll drop my stack exposures and my pitching exposures into Slack chat. If you're a premium member, come check it out. If you're not, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be fun. And football, oh boy, football is going to be outstanding.
It's on our doorstep.
The content is lining up. We are, about 100 hours away here, and we've got a variety of articles. We have projections. Those are coming over from FanDuel. The projections were actually really, really good last year. Andrew Hot Magic Barron, who is a master's degree in math and taught statistics at local area colleges as a side gig, is the guy doing the back-end projections. So that is something we're excited to be bringing over with the FanDuel crew as we now join awesome.com.
Yeah. I think that's it for me.
All right. Well, I was 1 for 1 in our home run. I did get my I did get my Luke Duda home run against Bieber last Sunday.
So let's put our home run picks in for today. You have the honor of going first.
I'm going to go with Juan Soto against Junior Guerra.
I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. Juan Soto coming out 29th in my home run model for today.
Oh, that feels like right about where Duda was last weekend. I think Duda was like 27th maybe. So
I am going to head to the Royals game. Give me Ryan O'Hearn.
Okay.
Hopefully, at least.
Zero issues with that. And he does appear to have light tower power with 2 home run upside in this matchup against David Hess and the Baltimore Orioles bullpen. Get us on out of here so I can get us some projection.
Sounds good. Everybody, best of luck today. We'll be around. Tons of content coming starting tomorrow. Deeper dive making its appearance on the awesemo.com channel tomorrow. So everybody, you're getting your FanVice content back. Best of luck. That's it. Adios, everybody.